Imagine a man walking through an empty house, the walls lined with awards, certificates, and photos of smiling people. From the outside, his life looks perfect. Successful career, admiration, respect, influence. But as he sits alone in his favorite chair, the silence is deafening. The phone doesn't ring. Friends who once laughed at his jokes no longer call. Family gatherings are distant memories. He realizes that despite all the attention he commanded, the connections he believed were unbreakable have faded, leaving him alone with only his carefully built image. The applause is gone. The mirrors that once reflected his power now reflect only solitude. And in that moment, he faces a truth he has spent a lifetime avoiding. Control, charm, and admiration cannot fill the emptiness left by real human connection. Imagine someone who has spent their life needing to be the center of attention, someone who has relied on admiration, validation, and a sense of superiority to feel good about themselves. For a narcissist, relationships are rarely about mutual care or connection. They are transactions. They are built on control, on being admired, or on extracting something from the other person. At first, this might look charming, even magnetic. People are drawn to their confidence, their energy, or the illusion of power they project. But over time, the cracks begin to show. The people around a narcissist start to notice a pattern: manipulation, criticism, subtle undermining. What once felt like attention now feels exhausting, sometimes painful. Friends and family who once enjoyed their company begin to pull away. Partners who once believed in their charm begin to recognize the patterns of gaslighting, blame shifting, and emotional unavailability. Colleagues and acquaintances, too, may start to distance themselves, sensing that interactions are rarely genuine. For a narcissist, this is devastating, but not in the way a normal person might experience loss. They are used to being the one in control, the one who decides how relationships work. When people leave or distance themselves, it feels like a threat, not a natural consequence. But as time goes on and more people leave, the narcissist's world shrinks. What was once a network of admiration and influence slowly becomes a landscape of emptiness. The very strategies they use to maintain power over others, manipulation, superiority, self-focus, become the very barriers that isolate them. Isolation for a narcissist is especially profound because they are not used to facing themselves without an audience. For most people, solitude can be a time of reflection, a chance to recharge or grow. But for someone who relies on external validation, being alone is terrifying. It forces them to confront their vulnerabilities, their fears, and the reality that they may not be as important or impressive as they believed. There's no one to reassure them, no one to mirror back the image they carefully curated. That absence becomes a kind of psychological echo chamber where their defenses begin to wear thin. As years pass, the isolation can become more extreme. Lifelong friends may have drifted apart, estranged family members may refuse contact, and romantic relationships may have ended in heartbreak or resentment. A narcissist often doesn't know how to form new connections that are honest and balanced because they have spent so long prioritizing their own needs and image over true intimacy. This leads to a self-reinforcing cycle. The more people leave, the more suspicious, defensive, or controlling the narcissist becomes, and the harder it is for anyone new to come close. The emotional toll is significant, even if it doesn't always show outwardly. Narcissists might try to mask their loneliness with bravado, with boasting, or with creating new networks that provide shallow validation. But these are often temporary fixes. The deeper need for real human connection, the kind of connection that allows vulnerability, empathy, and mutual care, goes unmet. And as life continues, especially in later years, the reality becomes unavoidable. The world shrinks further, leaving them with fewer and fewer meaningful interactions. This isolation doesn't just affect their social life, it can also impact their health. Humans are wired for connection. Loneliness, especially when chronic, has been shown to affect physical health, cognitive function, and emotional well-being. For a narcissist who may already struggle with anxiety or self-esteem issues beneath the surface, the lack of connection can exacerbate these vulnerabilities. Sleep disturbances, heightened stress, and even depression can creep in, often unnoticed by others because the narcissist continues to project strength or indifference. There's also an existential dimension to this isolation. As the narcissist grows older, they may begin to notice the passage of time in a stark way. They see friends and peers aging, losing loved ones, or finding contentment in ways they never did. And they realize that their strategies, which once seemed so effective at keeping admiration flowing and attention fixed on them, have not led to lasting closeness or comfort. The relationships that remain are often superficial or transactional. When it comes time to face the deeper questions of life, meaning, purpose, legacy, the narcissist may have no one truly close to talk to, no one to share memories with, no one to rely on for empathy or understanding. This is why isolation is such a central truth about the end of a narcissist's life. It's not just being physically alone, it's the profound lack of authentic connection, the absence of people who see them truly and care beyond what they can get in return. It's a lonely reckoning with the life they've built, a life that may have been full of activity, admiration, and appearances, but not the deep, sustaining bonds that make aging and dying less frightening. And what's perhaps most disturbing is how subtle this process can be. A narcissist may never fully recognize it until it's undeniable. They might still have acquaintances, still be surrounded by people in certain circles, still command attention in some contexts. But the warmth, trust, and mutuality that define genuine human connection are missing. They are left with a hollow echo of the life they thought they controlled, a life where the applause has faded and the mirrors no longer respond. In the end, the isolation of a narcissist is not just social, it's deeply psychological. It forces them to confront a truth they have spent their lives avoiding, that admiration, power, and control can never replace authentic human bonds. And in that confrontation, loneliness becomes the reality they cannot escape. Control is the lifeblood of a narcissist's existence. It shapes how they interact with the world, how they relate to others, and even how they see themselves. For a narcissist, life is not just something that happens. They are the ones who must shape it, mold it, and influence it. Every interaction is an opportunity to assert dominance, to maintain a sense of order, and to ensure that their image remains untarnished. But life, inevitably, has a way of humbling even the most confident, the most strategic. As time passes, the circumstances that once seemed entirely within a narcissist's control begin to shift. Aging brings changes they cannot dictate. Health issues creep in, sometimes slowly, sometimes abruptly. Their energy wanes, their appearance changes, and their bodies no longer obey in the way they once did. What was once a predictable, controllable world becomes unpredictable. For someone who thrives on being the orchestrator of events, this is profoundly unsettling. The loss of control doesn't stop with the body. Relationships, too, become unpredictable. People who once admired or followed them begin to assert their own autonomy. Spouses, partners, or colleagues start making choices that the narcissist cannot influence. Children grow up and establish their own lives. Friends develop boundaries. In all these cases, the narcissist faces a reality they are unprepared for. They are no longer the center of everyone's universe. This loss is not only frustrating, it can be terrifying. Narcissists are accustomed to being the ones who hold the cards, who set the rules, and who decide the flow of interactions. When these cards are taken out of their hands, it feels like a threat, a collapse of the world they have meticulously built. Their defenses, which worked for decades, suddenly seem inadequate. Anger, anxiety, and despair often rise as a result, but these emotions are rarely expressed in a way that resolves the underlying problem. Instead, they intensify the sense of helplessness. Financial matters can also become a source of lost control. Many narcissists take pride in their ability to manipulate not only people but circumstances. They equate financial stability with power, status, and security. Yet, market fluctuations, health expenses, or simple life changes can erode this sense of security. Even those who once appeared invincible can find themselves vulnerable. For someone who has spent a lifetime projecting strength and authority, the inability to maintain control over their resources can feel like a personal failure on a deep, almost existential level. The workplace, too, can become a source of upheaval. Narcissists often define themselves by their achievements, their influence, and their capacity to lead. But promotions may not come, subordinates may challenge them, or roles may change. The very systems they relied upon to showcase their superiority begin to evolve beyond their influence. The realization that the world does not bend entirely to their will can provoke intense frustration. It can lead to obsessive attempts to regain dominance, or conversely, a sense of resignation that is profoundly uncomfortable for someone who has always relied on control to survive. This struggle for control is not only external, but internal. Narcissists are often highly defensive because deep down, they fear weakness. They have built a life around the idea that being in command protects them from pain, vulnerability, and rejection. When control slips through their fingers, they confront emotions they are ill-equipped to manage: fear, uncertainty, and helplessness. Unlike most people who may experience these feelings as temporary and manageable, narcissists often experience them as catastrophic. The illusion of self-sufficiency shatters, leaving them unmoored. Social situations can amplify this struggle. A narcissist may have cultivated a network of influence, admiration, or even fear. But as people age, priorities change, friends move away, communities shift, and social circles that once offered admiration may no longer exist. The loss of social influence, the inability to dictate outcomes in even casual interactions, is a harsh reminder that life is not fully controllable. This realization is often experienced as deeply humiliating as it challenges the identity they have constructed around competence, power, and charm. Even technology, which many narcissists rely on to extend influence and control, can become a source of frustration. As the world changes faster than they can adapt, new tools, trends, or social norms may render their usual strategies less effective. This can provoke anxiety and a sense of being left behind, further highlighting the limits of their control over a rapidly evolving environment. Perhaps the most insidious aspect of losing control is the confrontation with mortality. Every human being must face the reality that life is finite, and no amount of manipulation or influence can alter that truth. For a narcissist, whose sense of self is often tied to the illusion of invulnerability or omnipotence, mortality is a terrifying loss of control. Aging, illness, and the inevitability of death strip away the fantasy of absolute power and highlight the fragility of life. Facing this truth without the usual defenses can be psychologically painful, sometimes unbearably so. Loss of control also magnifies loneliness. Without the ability to dictate outcomes or maintain dominance, relationships can erode further. People who once complied with their wishes or deferred to their authority may assert independence. The narcissist, already struggling with internal insecurity, is forced to confront a world where admiration and influence are no longer guaranteed. This confrontation with reality can be profoundly destabilizing. In the end, the loss of control is not just about minor inconveniences. It is a core threat to the narcissist's sense of identity. They have spent a lifetime constructing an image of competence, superiority, and invulnerability. When control slips away, they are left facing vulnerability, uncertainty, and the undeniable fact that life cannot be entirely managed or manipulated. This experience, often terrifying and isolating, becomes a central truth of their later years. The process is gradual yet relentless. At first, small losses may seem insignificant, but they accumulate, creating a reality the narcissist cannot deny. It is in this confrontation between the carefully constructed self and the uncontrollable forces of life, that many narcissists experience profound psychological distress. They are forced to reckon with limitations, mortality, and the ultimate truth that power and control are never absolute. When you think about the end of life, most people imagine the legacy they leave behind, the stories, the memories, the ways in which their lives have touched others. For a narcissist, the concept of legacy is often distorted. Throughout life, they are focused on image, power, and influence, but these are rarely grounded in meaningful contributions. They measure success by visibility rather than substance, by admiration rather than authentic impact. The result is that, as the years pass, what remains is often hollow. Narcissists tend to live in the realm of appearances. They cultivate a persona that demands attention and respect, but this persona is a mask. Behind it, the work done for genuine human connection, for love, for collaboration, or for leaving a positive mark on the world is minimal. They may have wealth, status, or recognition, but these are often superficial markers of achievement, not evidence of enduring value. The applause they received while alive may fade quickly, leaving a stark contrast between perception and reality. Family can be the most revealing reflection of a narcissist's legacy. Many narcissists prioritize control over nurturing, dominance over guidance. Children may have grown up under strict rules, manipulation, or conditional affection. The admiration they demanded was often exacting and one-sided. When these children grow into adults, they may feel resentment, distance, or detachment. A narcissist might expect loyalty or gratitude, but the reality is that meaningful familial bonds are fragile and can erode entirely. In the end, the family that once offered admiration or influence may offer little warmth or recognition. Friendships and social relationships are often similarly shallow. Narcissists may have cultivated a network of people who admired them or deferred to their authority. But admiration built on charm, fear, or manipulation rarely translates into lasting connection. When the narcissist passes away or loses influence, these relationships often dissolve. People who were drawn to their persona may remember the charm but not the substance. The legacy is empty because it was never anchored in genuine human connection. Professional accomplishments can appear impressive on the surface. A narcissist may have built a career that turns heads, amassed titles, awards, or recognition. But these achievements are often self-serving. They may have elevated themselves at the expense of others, claimed credit that was not entirely theirs, or focused on short-term visibility rather than long-term contribution. Colleagues may respect their skill or ambition, but respect is not the same as admiration born from trust, loyalty, or inspiration. The result is a professional legacy that can seem hollow or unfulfilling when viewed in the long arc of life. Even financial legacy can be misleading. Wealth accumulation may feel like proof of success, but if it was never paired with generosity, meaningful guidance, or ethical stewardship, it can be disconnected from human impact. In the end, money is a resource, not a measure of enduring value. A narcissist may leave behind material abundance, but without meaningful relationships or positive influence, the wealth alone cannot create a legacy that touches hearts or sustains memory. Art, creativity, or ideas may also suffer the same fate. If a narcissist pursues creative endeavors, these are often driven by ego rather than expression or contribution. The work may be impressive technically, but lacks resonance because it is created for recognition, not for connection. A true legacy is felt in the lives that are changed, the minds that are inspired, and the hearts that are touched. Without that, even brilliance can feel empty. One of the most painful aspects of an empty legacy is the narcissist's awareness of it, though often it comes late. At some point, there may be a flicker of recognition. A realization that despite everything, they are remembered more for manipulation, arrogance, or absence of empathy than for love, generosity, or wisdom. For someone whose self-image has been built on superiority and admiration, this recognition can be profoundly unsettling. The very thing they thought would endure, their charm, influence, and control, cannot insulate them from the truth that human memory and respect are grounded in authenticity, not image. The loneliness of an empty legacy compounds the fear of irrelevance. As friends pass away, family relationships falter, and recognition fades. The narcissist is confronted with a stark question: what did I actually leave behind? They may try to fill the void with ego-driven accomplishments or the admiration of others, but these are temporary, fleeting, and fragile. Time is indifferent and the world moves on. What remains, if anything, are memories of absence, hurt, or superficial interaction rather than meaningful contributions. This emptiness is often invisible to the outside world. Outsiders may still see status, wealth, or influence, and assume the narcissist has left a significant mark. But the measure of legacy is not in how things look on paper. It is in the hearts and minds that remember you with warmth, gratitude, and respect. For a narcissist, this is precisely what tends to be missing. Their life may have been busy, filled with activity and drama, but when you strip away the surface, the core often lacks substance that endures beyond self-interest. Even the narcissist's own mind can become a place of reflection and unease. In quiet moments, there may be flashes of awareness, small pangs of recognition that their life, as carefully constructed as it was, did not cultivate lasting love, loyalty, or meaning. These moments can be deeply disturbing because they confront the truth that no amount of manipulation, charm, or control can create the kind of legacy that matters in the human sense. Ultimately, the empty legacy is not just a matter of personal disappointment. It is a reflection of how a life lived primarily for self can fall short of what gives life its true richness. Human beings are remembered for how they make others feel, how they contribute to growth, joy, and understanding, and how they leave the world a little better than they found it. When these elements are missing, the accomplishments, the influence, and even the wealth feel like echoes that fade quickly after the narcissist is gone. As human beings, most of us have an innate awareness that life is finite, even if we don't dwell on it. For a narcissist, however, the confrontation with mortality is uniquely frightening. Their identity is often built on an illusion of control, power, and invincibility. They have spent much of their life projecting strength, charm, and superiority, creating an image of being central, significant, and untouchable. But the reality of aging, illness, and death is a stark reminder that no one is immune to the passage of time. This fear often begins subtly. They may notice their energy waning, their appearance changing, or their influence at work or in social circles diminishing. Small, everyday signs can trigger anxiety because these are indicators that life is moving on, whether they are ready for it or not. Where once admiration, validation, and attention were constants, they now become fleeting, and the narcissist struggles to reconcile this loss with the self-image they have spent decades building. Irrelevance is particularly painful. Narcissists define themselves by the impact they have on others, the control they exert, and the admiration they command. As they age, the people around them grow in independence, relationships shift, and the world continues without centering on their needs or desires. The realization that they are not as essential or influential as they once believed can provoke intense anxiety. It challenges the very foundation of their identity. Unlike most people who may accept aging and mortality as natural stages of life, narcissists often respond with denial, anger, or frantic attempts to maintain their sense of importance. They might try to cling to the admiration of others, exaggerate their accomplishments, or even manipulate circumstances to appear relevant. But these strategies are fragile. Time is relentless, and eventually, everyone faces moments where they cannot influence outcomes, cannot command attention, and cannot alter the inevitability of change. Mortality forces them to confront vulnerability in a way they are unprepared for. Most narcissists have spent a lifetime avoiding genuine self-reflection or emotional honesty. They have relied on external validation to feel worthy and have shielded themselves from the discomfort of acknowledging weakness, fear, or dependence. But the end of life strips away many of these protections. Health declines, mobility decreases, and the awareness of a finite existence becomes unavoidable. The facade that once protected them cannot hold back the existential truths they must face. This confrontation with mortality is often accompanied by profound anxiety and fear. Thoughts of leaving life, of no longer being able to control outcomes, and of being forgotten can become overwhelming. The narcissist's mind, trained to see themselves as central and indispensable, struggles to process the reality that, ultimately, no one can escape death. This struggle is deeply unsettling, because it touches a core insecurity that has long been hidden beneath layers of confidence and bravado. Socially, the fear of irrelevance can also manifest in a desperate need to be noticed or remembered. Narcissists may cling to younger generations, attempt to exert influence over family, or continue seeking public recognition, sometimes obsessively. They fear being forgotten, overlooked, or dismissed because to be forgotten is, in their mind, equivalent to failure or invisibility. This need for significance is not merely vanity. It is tied to a deep existential fear that they have wasted their life or that it will vanish without leaving a trace. This fear can also trigger resentment or anger. When the narcissist sees peers or younger people surpassing them, achieving recognition, or simply living without concern for their image, it can provoke jealousy, frustration, and bitterness. They may feel cheated by life, as if time itself has betrayed them, reinforcing the idea that they are losing relevance and control over their place in the world. These feelings can intensify inner turmoil, making the late stages of life a psychologically tense period. Narcissists may also struggle with meaning, because their self-worth has often been tied to superficial markers, admiration, power, or material success. They may realize too late that these markers do not guarantee a lasting legacy. When reflection becomes unavoidable, they are forced to confront the question, what will I truly leave behind? This can be terrifying because it exposes the emptiness of accomplishments built primarily for self-aggrandizement rather than genuine impact or connection. Even mundane life events can magnify this fear. Small losses like the death of peers, estranged relationships, or declining physical abilities serve as reminders of the inevitable. They see life continuing without them, and the knowledge that their influence is limited and temporary becomes stark. Every unaddressed emotion, every fractured relationship, and every missed opportunity for authentic connection reinforces the sense that time is slipping away and relevance is fading. The fear of irrelevance and mortality is compounded by isolation. Without meaningful connections to buffer the existential weight of aging and death, narcissists often face these truths alone. They may have been surrounded by admiration or compliance throughout their life, but admiration cannot replace genuine human presence, empathy, or care. Loneliness amplifies the awareness that life is finite, and the consequences of their choices, self-centeredness, manipulation, and estrangement, become impossible to ignore. In essence, the fear of irrelevance and mortality is not simply a concern about aging or death. It is a profound reckoning with identity, meaning, and self-worth. For a narcissist, whose existence has been carefully curated around control, admiration, and perceived importance, this realization can be deeply disturbing. They are confronted with the truth that no amount of charm, power, or attention can shield them from the realities of human fragility and the passage of time. Ultimately, this fear shapes the final chapter of a narcissist's life. It is a quiet, internal struggle, often hidden behind bravado or deflection, but it is relentless. The awareness that life will end and that they may leave behind little of genuine value creates an existential pressure few have the tools to manage. This is why the fear of irrelevance and mortality is one of the most disturbing truths for a narcissist. It forces them to face what they have spent a lifetime avoiding, and it reveals that the self-image they have so carefully constructed may not survive the final reckoning. Even the most confident narcissist carries within them a hidden storm. On the outside, they may seem composed, in control, and powerful. They move through life projecting certainty, charm, and superiority. Yet beneath this carefully curated exterior lies a constant internal tension, a chaotic inner world that few people ever see. This chaos is often the result of living a life that prioritizes image over reality, control over connection, and self-interest over empathy.